guys, Tracy here with another Scraptastic layout using my Classy Girls kit, and I'm taking a look at some of the stamps that come with the kit. I'm thinking about using some of the stamps from the Classy Girls kit. I also have the stamp set from the other kit, About a Boy. And I'm just picking out some photos that I think might coordinate with this photo. This is an Instagram I took. A lot of my scrapbooking layouts these days are using Instagram photos, and I really like the softness. It was taken early in the morning at the campground. We just got back from yesterday, and my daughter holding a cute little lamb that she loved. And so I wanted to scrapbook this one right away while it was fresh in my memory. So I'm picking out some cardstock to use for a background, and I'm going to use my silhouette to cut a shape. I wanted to mist the Plano shape from that mask that I think you can get from Studio Calico. It's made by Studio Calico, but I only have the tiny little version of that. I don't even know if it comes in a big version, but I wanted a big version, so I am going to create or try to find on Silhouette on the Silhouette America website on their library. I'm going to try to find a shape that's similar to that, but that's big, or that I can make big, and I'm going to mist it on this yellow basil cardstock. It's cream. It's not really yellow, it's cream. So right now I'm waiting for my silhouette to finish, and for some reason, whenever I select double cut, it quadruple cuts. So it seems to be, maybe there's two places and I've got it set in two different places to double cut. But anyways, it's taking a really long time to cut this shape. The shape is called Concentric Circles Negative Template. And so if you want to look for it, I did my journaling while I was waiting, and I also took out my circle cutter, and I'm kind of playing around because I forgot to modify the shape before I started to cut it. I meant it's going to be on a square background, but I meant for it to be on a circular background. So what I meant to do is just cut an extra circle around the edge of it. It's going to take me a while to get it off my mat as well. I'm using my Cricut spatula that I kept when I sold my Cricut and all the stuff that goes with it. I kept the spatula and the scraper because I thought it would be handy, and I use it all the time. So there's that shape. It's not exactly the same as the shape of the mask that I have, but it's pretty close. I'm going to use my circle cutter to cut because I wanted it to be, I could have hand cut it, but I wanted it to be a really good circle. I didn't want it to be too hand cut looking, and the paper is wobbling, so I'm just using some glue there. I broke my adhesive runner there that has temporary adhesive in it, so I just had to use my Zig glue pen. Didn't fully cut everywhere, so I'm going to use my scissors to cut off the rest of this, and now I have the shape that I want. And again, that is from the Silhouette library, and it's called Concentric Circles in brackets negative and then template. So I'm going to set it down there, and I'm going to mist it in orange. This is called Cameo, this color. I had picked out my colors already while I was waiting for it to cut, and now I'm going to spray a little bit of white. I'm going to cover it up with some more of that Cameo color. It's going to take a while for this to dry because I did use a whole lot of mist on it. I love that moment when you pull away the mask and you see that beautiful shape underneath. And now I'm going to use the mask itself on this layout as well, so I'm just going to mist it white in places just so that it has a bit of a mottled look. I don't want it to look all one color of cardstock. I want it to look a little bit more interesting, so it already has the Cameo mist on it, and I just added some white mist to it. So there, it's all dry now and ready to use. And I'm just going to layer it so that it's off a little bit, off to the side a little bit, so that you can see the, basically I want to be able to see the resist on the back, but I also want it to be kind of like a layer. So I used my tiny attacher to attach it all the way around. And I'm going to trim off the ends, but I'm going to wait a little bit. And while I've got my box out, I actually had put it away, but I took it out again. I splattered some silver Mr. Huey's, and as that dried, it turned a little bit too light gray. So I took my skyscraper, which is a black Mr. Huey's, and I'm going to add so that I've got two different colors of black splatters on there, the silver, which comes out a really light gray, and then the skyscraper that comes out a darker gray. There's the photo that I'm going to use. And I'm having a look through the papers that I had picked out earlier in this video. You saw me kind of choose all the papers. This is a Fancy Pants paper from the Memories Captured collection. I'm just matting my photo with it. I think it makes a really sharp looking matte. Adds quite a lot of interest. And then I had this scrap of Hello Again paper from Carta Bella. I used some of it on a previous layout, and there was a punch there, a scalloped circle punch, that I kind of liked the look of that punched shape, the negative space popping out. Just went into my own stash to pick out some vellum. I keep vellum scraps in a little drawer, a little plastic drawer in my scrap room. This is Studio Calico paper from the Atlantic collection, those really cool triangles. I'm going to glue all these layers down just in the middle because I'm not sure if I'm going to add any layers, so I want to make sure I leave the option to add. So these are October afternoon tidbits that came in the Classy Girls kit, and I'm just putting them in a couple of places. I'm going to use my roller date stamp, just my regular Staples one that I got from the Staples store, and just going to put the date, which was just 2 days ago that I took that picture, and I'm going to layer some of those. I'm not going to put that third one that I just touched there with the heart. It looks like a bit of an arrow label. Thought about using that denim flower, but I'm going to save that for something else. And now I'm thinking about the stamps that I'm going to use on this layout. I'm going to stamp, sorry about my head there, I'm going to stamp the one that says "So Happy Together." I did a terrible job stamping it, so I had to immediately re-stamp it, which means it's a little bit funny looking. It's got a bit of a shadowed ghost image behind it. But that's okay. I'm using a Lumocolor pen by Stettler. Stettler's my favorite pen company from way before I was a scrapbooker. I used to doodle and stuff with these pens, and they are like Slick Writers. There's no different. I just already have these, so I didn't bother buying Slick Writers in every single color because I already have a whole bunch of Stettler Lumocolors. So I use them in red to doodle in, color in the hearts on that stamp. And now I'm taking the 2 banner stamps that come with the Classy Girls. They actually don't come with the kit. The stamps are a separate purchase. Sorry, it's overexposed there. My camera sometimes gets confused by my video lighting. These are Stampin' Up! Inks that I'm going to use, and I didn't do a great job of stamping these. I always forget the new Stampin' Up! Ink pads are much juicier. Like the pad really sinks in when you stamp on it, and I always forget to go lighter handed, and so they look fine, but they're not quite as crisp as they normally would be if I had done a better job of stamping. But that's okay. I'm going to cut them out anyways. My daughter's helping me here. So I'm cutting them out. I did 2 of the heart one and one of the one that says smile, and the colors that I used are hang on, I have them written down here: Bermuda Bay, Crisp Cantaloupe, and Smoky Slate. And those are all new colors, although the Bermuda Bay is an old color that's new again. And I really regretted not buying that when it was out the first time, and I thought, oh, they'll never change their colors, and then that year they changed their colors and got rid of Bermuda Bay. So I'm happy it's back. Or maybe it was the in color for the year, I can't remember, but anyways, I meant to buy it when it was out. So there's those banners. I just glued them down. This is called Easy Stitches. It's a template by Hot Off the Press. It's one of the very first scrapbooking supplies that I ever bought when I was first starting in 2009. And it has all these different stitching patterns on it that you can use as a template. And so I'm using that along with the Amy Tangerine poker. Paper piercer, I guess it's probably called. I like that paper piercer because it's tiny and it fits in your hand. And I'm just putting a couple of cross-stitching stitch holes on there. And I'm thinking about which kind of string I'm going to use for stitching this. And I'm going to go with this twine, which is by Lawn Fawn. And it's quite a heavy, strong twine, which means I had to use a really broad needle. So this is a darning needle. It doesn't have a pointy tip to it, and it has a really, really wide hole. Sorry, I'm a little bit off camera because I zoomed in a bit too much, but you're gonna see me tie a string, tie a knot in the back of it, and then I'm just gonna kind of easily, you can't really see it because I'm doing it so fast, but I don't want to slow it down because this video is already 20 minutes. But I'm just kind of wiggling it because the needle is so thick that the needle is so wide that it's hard to go through the holes that I have punched, and I really don't want to tear the paper, so I'm just wiggling it. I think you can see that. And I'm not going to show you me stitching every single one because eventually I'm going to turn off my camera and do it off camera. But you get the sense of how I'm doing this, even though it's really fast. Sorry. Now I'm just going to tie that off once I finished stitching all of them. And now you see that there they are, cross-stitched. I really like that my little sewing machine isn't working, and I feel like I need to have some texture on my layouts, and my last couple of layouts have felt really flat to me just because I'm used to having the sewing on it, so I'm doing some hand stitching on my layouts these days until I can figure out what the heck is wrong with my sewing machine. I have a new sewing machine, but I do not want to use it for scrapbooking because I don't want it to randomly stop working like this one did. This is just a little $100 sewing machine, so I'm not too concerned if it is broken forever, but I don't think it is. Anyways, I'm putting some pop dots in behind my layers just to make them pop out a little bit. Those pop dots actually came with the kit if you bought the 2 kits in a row. So if you bought the July kit, you would have gotten the pop dots as your little freebie that you get for buying 2 months in a row. I'm using the Jelly Bean Soup letter stickers that came in the Classy Girls kit. I thought about using those Dear Lizzie pink ones that also came in the kit, but I didn't think that they would stand out enough, and I didn't want to do another layer to make them pop out. So I wanted this title to kind of float on the background, and so I needed it to be the darker color instead of the pink that would blend in with the background. So just for a little bit of interest, I made the first word in all caps and then the second word in small lowercase letters. And I just put it so that the L went up into the little space in the end so that the 2 words could be as close together as possible. I like my titles to be close. So now I'm just having a look at these stickers to see if there's anything here. And this one says So Happy Together. I didn't really realize that I already had So Happy Together in the stamps, but it's okay having it twice. I don't really mind repeating that phrase twice on one layout. It is a different font in the stamp. And now I wanted to use these cork hearts, and I wanted to use a button accent, and I am taking buttons from my stash, but the kit actually did come with a fair number of buttons. It's just on my previous layout I used a ton of buttons and I used them all up. So I'm choosing buttons here that are similar to the buttons that came in the kit. So just in case you're trying to follow along, I know there are a few people who mention that they scrap lift my layouts. You could use the buttons that came in the kit for this purpose. I am just digging into my stash because of my previous layout using up so many of them. So because I have those 2 cork elements, I want to add a little bit more cork just to not have those 2 hearts stand out quite so much. And I also wanted to direct some attention to the beginning of the title because it gets a little bit lost on that triangle paper. The A is on the paper, and I just want to kind of point to the word starts here. Thought about putting a little cluster of buttons. I'm all about clustering buttons these days, but I decided not to. I like that little paper just sticking out plain as it is. So again, I use my Amy Tangerine paper piercer to pierce the holes, and what I'm using as my little kind of backer to catch the holes as I punch them so I don't damage my work surface is actually a little piece of foam from a brad set. They used to, I haven't seen any brads that came in this type of packaging anymore. They tend to package them on cardstock, but they used to put them in a foam, kind of on a foam backing. And I kept all of those. I'm using my zig writer to just put some stitch marks all around. Again, I don't have my sewing machine, so I'm trying to wing it. Yeah, so this other orange button is going to be too small. The holes in it are too small for my needle to go through. And so I thought about just kind of threading the thread through the needle, through the button. But then I realized quickly that that wasn't going to work all that well. So I'm just taking a look at some other buttons that might fit. And this is actually a Stampin' Up! Button, this orange one. I think if I had stuck with October afternoon buttons, they probably, like the ones that came in the kit, they probably would fit through. But I wanted orange, so. And I didn't have any orange October afternoon buttons in the smaller size. I didn't want both hearts to have huge buttons. I just wanted them to be different in that way. So I just went to my stash for a smaller button. Here comes Maya, but I'm going to get rid of her because she's sitting right in my way. And now I'm just going to put a couple of random cross stitches around my layout just because I really like how it looks with that dark twine. It's really a lot of work doing hand stitching with heavy twine. I think it would be easier with a regular floss. But I do like the look of it, so I'm going to take the time and do it. I'm not sure if I videotape it or not. It looks like I'm showing it all. So what I do with the backs of my layouts when I do stitching on them, that was not sticking very well at all. It flopped off when I when I turned it over. So now it's going to stick better. What I do on the backs of my layouts that have this kind of sewing on it is I usually go back at the very end, and you won't see this because I do it off camera when everything is all done and the layout is already photographed. I will go back and turn the layout upside down, and wherever there's stitching I will add some glossy accents to the knots of the stitching, and that just keeps it from coming undone when I'm putting it in and taking it out of page protectors. I really, after spending this much time doing the stitching, I really do not want it to come undone if I ever change my scrapbooking layouts around in my scrapbooks or anything and take them out of the page protectors. I do not want that stitching coming out. So I just take a blob of glossy accents and add it to the end, to just the knots. It just keeps them in place and keeps the knots from coming undone. So there, I am finally done the stitching, and I think I'm done the layout. Let me just have a look here if I'm doing something else. Oh yes, I added a couple of staples. Had to fix up that chevron that got misplaced when I reglued the main elements. Oh yeah, and here I go down a little path that doesn't end up going anywhere. I'm thinking about scattering some sequins that came in the kit. We got a whole package of sequins from the Atlantic collection from Studio Calico, and I love them, and I especially love these gray or silver ones. They're absolutely gorgeous, and I thought about running them along some of the lines like this, but I think it takes away a little bit from the layout. What I kind of like about this one, and I've said this before, when I do a complicated background, which to me this is complicated, I know a lot of people do way more complicated backgrounds than this, but for me this background is quite elaborate, and so I find that the more embellishments I put on that kind of a layout, the more it it feels too busy for me. And so although I really like the look of these sequins along these lines, I'm going to take them off because I really love the look of this layout with that circular misted die cut in the background, and I just don't want to take away from it. So I just wrote Hidden Hills Campground. I had prepared a whole bunch more journaling, but I ended up not using it just because it's a little bit redundant. I mean, she's an animal lover, and it's just a bunch of words talking about how she's an animal lover. So I like to be to the point with my layouts whenever I can. So The title is Animal Lover. It says the date on the roller date stamp and then the campground name. And that's all I really need because the rest will be in Project Life. So thanks so much for watching, you guys. I'm going to put some pictures up now. You guys take care, and I will see you on my next layout.